All right. Hello, everyone. I think we are live now. So I hope you guys can hear me. And do let me know in the chats. So, how is everyone doing? There's already people waiting, so that's good. 21 waiting students, so that's amazing. So, hello, Jageshwar. Hello, Deepak. Hello, Supin. Hello, Rika. So, how is everyone doing this Sunday? Everything good? Okay, great. So, all right. So I think everybody knows what today's session is going to be about. And before we start, I would just like to introduce myself. So I'm Avi Vashisht, and I've been an instructor at Accio for the last, I think, 8-9 months now. And so don't worry, you guys are definitely in good hands, right? And today the application that we'll be building is just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we're going to build a very nice quiz app. Right. So, yeah. Hello, Priyansh. Good afternoon. And okay. So, like I said, I would also like to introduce Accio to you guys as well. So, if you guys don't know about what AccioJob is this startup working towards getting you guys placed in tech careers of your choice, right? And we have various different courses that you guys can select from. You can know more about us using, by just visiting acciojob.com, and you guys will see that we have various different courses. So yeah, these are all the different courses that we have. If you guys are into data analytics, so we have a data analytics course as well, right? So you can definitely go through our website. In case you have any doubts, feel free to ask those doubts in the chats, and somebody from AccioJob will definitely get back to you. And yes, so in this session also, you guys will be getting a certificate, but the forms of those certificates will be floated towards the end of the session. So you will have to stay here, you will have to learn something, and only then, towards the last, I think, 15-20 minutes or 20-30 minutes, you'll float a form, and you guys will be able to get to, get your certificates. Apart from that, if you guys look in the charts right now, you might see that there is a one-on-one. In case you guys have any doubts regarding anything in the program, right? You can book a one-on-one career counseling session with us, and the link for that has been given in the chats. So feel free to sign up over there, fill up your details, and somebody from the team will definitely reach out to you. Right. So that was it for our introduction and my introduction. And I think without any further ado, we can definitely get started and talk about what we'll be building today. So, like I said, this is going to be the flow of everything that we'll be doing today. So, the introduction is done. If anyone has any doubts in the introduction, do let me know. Feel free to keep the chats active. We will definitely try our best to keep on or keep the session as interactive as possible, because I feel that way everybody gets to enjoy it and it's not boring and everybody learns a lot. Right. So, okay. So if everyone is cool with the introduction, let's move ahead, right? And we will definitely, by the way, try to end this session within 2 hours. So not a really long session, and I will try my best to provide value to you guys. So, okay, let's continue. So, regarding the walkthrough of the app that we'll be building, the app is a very simple application, yet it looks really cool. So, it's a basic quiz application. Obviously, this is the landing page. You guys can change the design however you want to. I have tried to keep a very minimalistic dark theme, right? We have two buttons over here. We have start a quiz button and we have the view scoreboard. Let me expand on this if it is not visible. I think this should be a little more clear to everyone. Right. Okay. So we have a start the quiz button and we have a view scoreboard button. If I click on start quiz, a pop-up opens, a prompt. By the way, this is called a prompt in JavaScript. So we open a prompt, and in that prompt, we ask for the user's username. Right. So in the username, let me just type Avi. That is my name. Right. So if I click on OK, then the quiz starts. There is no timer as of such. We can definitely include a timer. Right. That is one of the features that we will be expanding. But let's say we have this quiz. So firstly, you see a percentage. So this is the percentage of the quiz completed, right? This is the question, obviously, and these are the options. So who do you think invented the telephone? I know it's. I think everybody should know it's Alexander Graham Bell, but let's do Nikola Tesla for some reason, right? So the text displays that, oh, this is the wrong answer, and we see that Nikola Tesla we selected and it's red. And by the way, now I do not get the option to click on any of the other options. Right. So now over here, there are two, three things that we can also implement. We can also show the correct answer if we want to, or we can just click on the next question. So let's click on the next question. So as you guys can see, I've completed 7% of the quiz because obviously, and we completed one question, and the score is still zero. Right. So what year was the first iPhone released? So I believe it was 2007. As soon as I click on 2007, we see that 2007 was the correct answer indeed, and now my score has become one, And now I can click on the next question. Right, what is the capital of Spain? I think it's Madrid, and yes, I'm correct. Right, then which planet is known as the red planet? That is definitely Mars, but let's just do Jupiter. Right, wrong answer. Correct. So basically, this is about it, and let's just quickly get through all of these questions. Right, these questions are generated via a JSON that we have, and I will give you guys the JSON as well. You guys will get everything. Don't worry. This is just the walkthrough of the app. Right. So just like any other quiz app, you just keep on answering questions. You keep on doing this, and eventually the quiz is going to end. Right. So I'm really sorry if you guys want to attempt this. You guys can visit this link. This link is in the Notion. I'll come back to the Notion as well. And okay. So highest waterfall, Angel Falls, and that's it. So once we are done, our score was 4, and our highest score for this session is also 4. Right. Now we can have a button over here to take us to the home screen, or I can just refresh. As soon as I refresh, again my score becomes 0. But if I go visit the scoreboard, I see that my score was 4, and that was on 25th June 2023 at 1 p.m. 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Right. So now if I attempt again, if let's say I attempt again and I say a V2, right, if I do this, let me just quickly try to answer all the questions again. So this is this, then Madrid is the answer, right? Mars is the correct answer for this. Then Mount Everest is the highest, Pacific Ocean, blue whale, right? Then Australia, correct. So we have 8, so I think this should be good. And let's just keep on getting done with these questions. Okay, done. So our final score was 11, and as you guys can see, even our high score got updated. Correct. So both of these things are working. If I go over here, you guys will see that Avi 2 had a score of 11 and Avi had a score of 4. So you guys can see the scoreboard as well. Right. So Jayanti says that the screen is not clear. So is that for everyone? Because I can see the screen, and the screen does seem to be clear to me. Right. So do let me know if the screen is not clear for anyone else. But okay. Then Jito says hi. Hello, Jito. Mohammed says hi. Hello. So, okay. So, is the walkthrough of the app clear? This is something that we'll be building today. So, what do you guys think about this? Any suggestions? Is this good? Good to go for 2 hours? I think this is a fairly simple quiz app, but with a lot of clean features as well. Right? Hello, Ganesh. Okay. So if the quiz app is clear for everyone, something that I have provided in the description, if you guys go down below to the YouTube description, you guys will see that there is a Notion link and there's the GitHub link. So Sonali says not clear. So Sonali, don't worry, we'll come back to this. Okay. And Sayed says add timer. Definitely, Sayed, we should add a timer. Okay. But all right. So let's talk about the documentation that I'm providing. Right. So Sonali, don't worry, I'll come back to the explanation again. We're going to spend the next 2 hours in just making this application. But right. So if you guys see in the YouTube description, I think everybody should be able to see that there is one Notion link and there's a GitHub link. So the Notion link will take you here and the GitHub link will take you to this repo, right? So obviously the GitHub link has all of the code. So don't worry, the code will be provided to you guys. So again, the code is already with you. So you don't need to worry about the code part. But when I talk about the Notion, what is this Notion document? So, per se, if you guys don't know, Notion is this application which allows us to do a little bit of documentation, allows us to share certain things, right, with people. So, exactly, Ishika. Right. So, Ishika says previous question buttons can be added. And yes, I feel previous question should be also added. It's up to you, right? My job as an instructor for today was to give you guys a basic start and a basic quiz app. I would definitely appreciate if all of you guys applied your own logics, applied your own questions, your own designs to make this application more and more better, right? So we will come to that part as well. So, okay. When we talk about the documentation that I've provided, in this documentation, what I've done is I've given you obviously the GitHub link, the deployed link. If you guys want to play this quiz game yourselves, this is the link that you can go to, right? And apart from that, I have given you step by step, detailed steps to basically make this application, right? So if you think about it, this is basically a guide, right? Now, this is not the complete guide. It is going to make you help you make something like this. I think the styling is missing, but more or less, this will help you build the quiz app. But from that point, you will have to expand it on your own, right? So the goal of this masterclass was to actually teach you guys how to build a quiz app and then leave you guys at a point where you guys can expand on the quiz app yourself, right? I think all of us agree that no project or no website will ever be perfect. It is up to us as developers to keep on adding features in them, keep on iterating them, keep on making more changes to the project to at least try to make it perfect, right? And right off the bat, I see Ishika, then I see I think Sayyed, and then yes, Sayyed, and then Battery also. I'm so sorry, I know Battery is not your real name, but I see a few of you guys already suggesting certain changes that we should make, right? And definitely we should make these changes because we want to make this project the best that can be, right? But like I said, if in this just 2 hour session, if I sit to make all of your guys' changes, I will not be able to provide you guys value. I want to make you provide you guys value so that you yourself can add the changes that you want, right? So Tanesh, the GitHub link is in the description. Go check the description. All right. Okay. So if you guys see, there's the introduction of the project. There's the setup. The project setup, the HTML structure. Right. We have the HTML elements. Then if you keep on scrolling down, we have the basic styling of the app as well. Then we have the basic JavaScript logic also. Right. So I have done my best to provide you guys with certain documentation that you guys can do. Right. So Udbhav says that it's better if somehow we can add authentication. Definitely, Udbhav. So, but that is something that I feel will require a little more knowledge. These master classes are supposed to be just for beginners, right? I would really appreciate if you guys, expanded on this project, and if you guys just leave the link once this session is done. Obviously, come back a week later, 2 weeks later, maybe. As soon as you guys are done with your iteration of the project, leave a link, and I will personally go through them. Right? I will try my best. Correct. So that is definitely appreciated. And yes, above ideally we should. But like I said, let's just keep this masterclass very, very simple. Okay. But anyways. So the documentation has been provided, you guys. We will be following this very documentation today. So don't worry about it. Right. This is given, this is publicly viewable. So first tell me if this is open for everyone. This should be definitely opening for everyone. It is a public link, but still, right? And if you just go through this documentation, you will realize that we have added everything that we need for this app, right? Obviously, expansion is up to you, right? So if the documentation part is also clear, let's talk about a little, just talk a little about the expansion of the app, and then we'll get started with the code. Because I feel a lot of you guys are very interested in that, right? So what do you guys think? Shall we do that? Do keep the charts active so that I am aware that you guys are continuously, paying attention. Okay, great. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Udbhav. I really appreciate you guys being very active. Right? Yes. Okay, great. So let's talk about the expansion. Right. So if I talk about the expansion, if you guys see the first expansion idea that I myself have put is the timer. Right. So don't worry. I knew about this fact that a timer is needed, but I would want you guys to implement it. I will definitely tell you how to implement the timer. You can use functions like set interval and set timeout. Right. So these are two JavaScript functions only, inbuilt JavaScript functions that you guys can use to enable the timer functionality. Right. We can have different arrays and we can have different categories of quizzes. Like this is just a general knowledge quiz. Right. You guys can make a science quiz, geography quiz, math quiz. You guys can have a lot of different categories of quizzes and let the user choose those quizzes. Right. So that is the second expansion idea. The third is difficulty levels. You can every question can have a difficulty level. You can have an easy, medium, hard. Maybe somebody wants to just do hard level questions. Somebody wants to just do easy level questions, right? Apart from that, the fourth point is using an API to fetch quiz questions. So there might be certain public APIs. I will update this point and I will attach those public APIs that you guys can use for quiz questions, right? We can definitely add in more animations, make the website look better. We can obviously improve the user experience. So that comes inside UX, correct? So I don't know if you guys are aware of the difference between UI and UX. UI is what the user sees on the screen, but UX is what the person feels, right? Does the person feel good when they visit the website? That is what UX stands for, right? So we can definitely improve on the UX as well. And then if you guys want to really up your game, like Udbhav suggested that we should authenticate, right? While you guys are authenticating, you guys can use technologies like Socket.io, which is an advanced level technology. I will not deny that. For beginners, we should not discuss this point. But for anyone who is intermediate or advanced, you guys can basically include multiplayer mode where people can actually do it in real time, right? And obviously, making the quiz responsive comes inside UI. But okay. So somebody in the chat edits again. I don't know if this is. I don't think so. This is your real name, but somebody in the chat says that I want to be a web developer, and what should I do for that? So for that, okay. So for anyone who wants to learn web development, AccioJob actually has a playlist for you guys. Right, you guys can visit our lectures. We have free HTML CSS beginner lectures, obviously. So you guys can definitely go through our YouTube. We have various playlists, and in this, especially in this project building workshop, right? In this project building workshop, what we do is we teach every Sunday, or we try to be right every Sunday or every alternative Sunday, or usually during Sundays. We have this masterclass like we have the one today, right? In these sessions we have taught how to make clones of projects, like LinkedIn clone, Spotify clone, Instagram clone, and we try to teach them from scratch. So if you just watch these 2 hour 3 hour sessions, I feel you will get to know a lot about HTML CSS, right? We post a lot of content regularly for you guys to learn, so definitely subscribe to our channel so that you guys can learn more about more about our channel and our videos, right? So, okay, Ashutosh says, when will the certificate be received? Ashutosh, the certificate will be received towards the end of the session. So, you have to stay here till the end, right? Before, I think, at around, if the session is ending at 2, so around 1:30, 1:45, not at 2, sorry, at 3, so around 2:30 to 45, we will float those forms, right? And Gurunam, that depends from interviewer and company to company. Some companies do, some companies don't. Okay, but that definitely depends. But learning a little more about DSA will never hurt you, right? Okay, so I think we can move forward now. I really, by the way, I really appreciate you guys being so interactive in the chats. I'm really enjoying answering all of your questions. So feel free to ask more and more questions. But for now, I think we can move on, right? So if we have already gone through the first 3 points, we can now finally get started with our code. So if you guys are ready, let's just get started with the building of this quiz app, right? So, okay, great. So to do that, firstly, what we'll be needing is we will be needing to create our folder, right? So wherever you want to, you can just create a new folder. I'll be creating it in my desktop, right? And I'll be calling it quiz dash app dash live, because this is the one, the previous one that I have made, and this is the one that we'll be making right now, right? Then all you need to do is you just need to open your VS Code, right? I will have to create a new, just a second. Okay. Great. So you guys will create a new VS Code window, and what you need to do is just drag this folder over here, right? The reason we do that is so that your VS Code is now open, and Quiz App Live, the folder that we made, is the folder that is going to be there. So Ghanshyam said this is only front end or back end. So this is just a simple front end project. So don't worry. The only tech stack that we're using is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right. So I think we can start now. So like I said, all you need to do is you need to make 3 files. First will be your index.html. Second will be your script.js. Right. The third will be your styles.css. Right. Just these 3 files, and that is it. Right. We will be needing one more file, but we'll talk about that in a second. Then what you need to do is just start your HTML file. Right. Just create a very basic HTML file like this. Make sure to import your style sheets. So dot slash styles.css, right? Description will be quiz app built using HTML, CSS, and JS, right? The title will be my quiz app, right? And great. I shall include the script as well. And the reason as to why I'm doing that is now I can just say console.log hello world over here, and over here I can say hello world. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing that is so that we can see if everything is working or not, right? So we have a simple index.html. In this index.html, I have hello world one written as an h1. In my script, I just have a console log hello world. This way, I'll be able to see if my script is linked or not, right? Linking of the script has been done over here. Linking of the style sheet has been done over here. So to even check this, what we can do is I can just make my entire body of my HTML as color will be white, and background color I'll make as black. Right. So this way, when I click on go live, I will be able to test if both all of these files have been linked or not. And as you guys can see on my screen, the files have been linked because I see this in my HTML. I see the black background. And if I inspect element, right, if we inspect element, and if I go to my console, I do see hello world. So basically everything does seem to be working, right? Our script is working, our HTML elements are working, and our style sheet is also working. Correct? So far so good. The basic setup is done. I don't think so I need to explain more on the setup. It's just simple three files: HTML, CSS, and script.js. And that's it. Just these three files are needed, and that's about it. And one more really cool thing that I would want to let you guys know is that this entire project that we're building, right? If you have a look in the GitHub repo, and if you go to script.js, you will see the main logic is just for 120 lines. So imagine it's just around 120, 150 lines of code. We will be building a proper, fully functional quiz app. So isn't that cool? So it is not really a really, huge application per se. Correct? Okay. Now comes the important part, right? So, okay. So far, is the setup clear? And Komal says that the screen is not clear. So, Komal, I feel that is something that is, the issue of your network. I feel, because I can see the screen clearly on my second screen that I have. But do just change the, I guess the settings of the live, and see if you can, increase the resolution a little. Okay. So if you guys are, if you guys understood the getting started part, I will talk to you guys a little about the logic, right? So is this part clear? The fact that we have built three files: index.html, script.js, and style.css. If these three files are clear right now, we can move ahead, right? If not, I will explain this again. So don't worry. All good? Shall we move ahead? Shubham says not clear. Okay. So Shubham, see, what we've done is, since this is a project that is just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we need three files, right? We need one for our HTML, we need one for our JavaScript, and we need one for our styles.css, right? So, okay. So what is the index.html do? The index.html is basically where we will be writing all of our HTML code, right? This is going to have all of the different elements that we do. Why is the styles.css necessary? The styles.css is necessary to style our application. Right. Is this better? So Shubham, I have increased my font a little. So I think that should be better. Right? So, okay. And if I talk about the script.js, what does the script.js do? Script.js is basically the brains of our application. This is where our entire application's logic will be there, right? This is where we will say that, okay, on the click of this button, do this. On the click of next button, show the next question. On the click of the options, make sure that the correct option is there. If the correct option is there, show it in green. If the wrong option has been selected, show it in red, right? This is where all of that will be done. Correct? Any doubts in this? So basically, these three files are needed for all of the visual parts, the styling parts, and the logic part. So index.html is just for the elements, right? Style.css is for the visual appearance of it, to make it look good, to make style it. And script.js is the mind of the quiz, right? This will be basically connecting all of our buttons, saying on the click of this button, do this, on the click of that button, do that, right? All of that logic. Okay. So I'm really glad that Shubham asked me to reiterate on this. So thank you, Shubham. And okay, I feel now this should be a little better because I improved the font size. And yes, yes, definitely, Bhanu Chandra. So Bhanu Chandra has a question that are certificates helpful? Yes, certificates are definitely helpful. This ways you guys will be able to add this project in your resume. And in case any interviewer asks, you can say that you did a certified workshop on this project. So all of these come inside workshops, right? So workshops or master classes or coding boot camps. So all of these boot camps give you certificates so that it is a legitimate thing. Correct? Anyways. So if you guys are good to go, we will talk a little about the logic part. Okay. So I would want to teach you guys something and tell you guys how the entire application is working. Is everyone ready for the logic part? Let's start talking about the logics now. Right? Cool. So see, if we talk about it, what is a quiz app? Right. I wanted to understand the flow again, and I think I hope you are still there, Ishika. I think Ishika had asked this question, or had asked me to explain the project again. So let me just see. Um, was it Ishika or someone else? Somebody had I think Sonali then. Yes. Somebody had asked me to reiterate on the project as well. So here we go. Right. So I hope you're still watching the video. All right. So see, this is what an application looks like, and you need to understand the flow. Now, the user has two options. Either the user clicks on Start Quiz or the user clicks on View Scoreboard. Obviously, let's just talk about View Scoreboard quickly. If the user clicks on View Scoreboard, we show them the scoreboard, right? Nothing too complicated, just showing of data, correct? Nothing that is mind blowing or something which is too difficult to do, right? But when we talk about the Start Quiz, what happens when the user clicks on the Start Quiz button? So first order of business is to create this screen where we'll have two buttons, Start Quiz button and View Scoreboard button. On the click of View Score button, we show them a different div where we show them the different, the scoreboard, right? But if the user clicks on Start Quiz, what will happen then, right? So this is the main flow of our project. So as soon as I click on Start Quiz, what happens? We see this prompt on the screen, right? Does everybody see? Can everybody see this prompt? Enter your username. So what does this prompt do? So this prompt is basically asking me to enter my username. So let's say I enter my username and this is my username. Correct? Okay. Now when the user clicks on OK, something needs to happen, and when the user clicks on cancel, something needs to happen. Let's click on OK first. So when the user clicks on OK, what did we do? So far on the click of start quiz, we showed this prompt. In this prompt, when I click on OK, I will store this username. Okay. As soon as I click on OK, I have stored the username. I can show it on the screen as well. We will definitely show it on the screen too. Somehow I forgot about that. My bad. But right now this quiz starts. Right. So basically, as soon as I click on OK of that prompt, the quiz starts. Correct. Now, when I say the quiz starts, what happens? So firstly, the quiz starts, obviously. What we show on the screen is very important. So what do we show on the screen? We show the progress bar. So this entire component, this 0% and this little bar that is there, we will call this the progress bar, right? So we show the progress bar, and below the progress bar, we show the question, right? And below the question, we show the four options, correct? So now there should be some way that whenever I call that start quiz function, I need to show this UI. I need to show these questions, right? So obviously we'll have a function for that as well, for showing questions. Make sense? Then when the question is shown, I need to add event listeners. And what are event listeners? Event listeners basically means that when I click on an option, something needs to happen. When I click on Thomas Edison, something needs to happen. When I click on Alexander Graham Bell, something needs to happen. When I click on Albert Einstein, something needs to happen. When I click on Nikola Tesla, something needs to happen. Let's click on Nikola Tesla. We know that Nikola Tesla is not the correct answer, right? Or maybe let's click on the correct answer. We know that Graham Bell is the correct answer. As soon as I click on it, what happens? So firstly, we see this. We see that correct answer. So we see a message saying that, oh, is your answer correct or is your answer wrong? So we see that our answer is correct. And as soon as we have a correct answer, our score also gets updated, right? As soon as the score gets updated, we also see a few things. We see that this next question button appears, and all the other questions, their opacity is being decreased. If you look at this, the way Nikola Tesla is looking and the way next question is looking, there's a difference. In fact, if I hover over Nikola Tesla, you see how my cursor also changes. This is the normal cursor. If I click on next question, the cursor becomes pointing. It becomes that I can click on it. And if I go to Nikola Tesla, it shows me that disabled sign. That means I can no longer click on it, right? Yes, it is possible. Okay. So then what we can do is we can click on next question. Then obviously what happens in the next question? The second question loads. So how is the next question logic working? Next question logic is working. We say that okay, now we will show the next question. So again, somehow a function runs which says show the next question. In this question, we show the question again, we show the progress bar, we show these options. As soon as I click on one thing, what happens? So this was the wrong option. So it got converted to red. My score remains the same. Next question comes again. All of these become blurred, right? Not blurred, the opacity decreases, and I see wrong answer. Now if I click on next question, this increases, This increases, score remains the same, question changes, right? If I click on Madrid, green, correct answer comes. Next question. This improves, score improves, right? Are you guys getting what is happening? So basically, whatever is happening once the quiz has started is because of these buttons, either these buttons or this button, right? So we need to technically write three, four logics. The first logic is for these two buttons, okay, start quiz and view quiz board, right? Then the next logic is for this prompt, if this prompt has been filled or not. If this prompt has been filled, then the next logic comes for these buttons, right? Once these buttons are clicked, then the next logic comes for the next question. Right. Dark hanger, I will come back to you in a second. Right now, I'm talking very something very fundamental to a project. Let's just complete this flow first. All right. So, how many of you guys have understood this flow? What do you guys think about this? How many of you guys are with me? So, what we have done is we have basically broken down our entire project into just events. Everything in our page is happening on some button click. Nothing is happening on its own. Everything is happening when something is happening. The quiz starts when I click on start quiz. The scoreboard comes when I click on the view scoreboard button. Right. The next question comes when I click on the next question button. Right. The solution or the answer comes when I click on one of these options. Right? Are you guys understanding? So this makes our job very, very simple. If we just keep a very simple linear flow of our application, the fact that only on the click of certain buttons things need to happen, we are good to go. What do you guys feel about that? Does this make sense? How many of you guys are agreeing with this point that this project is actually very simple to implement, and the reason for that is anything and everything that is happening is basically happening after a button click. So what do you guys feel about that? Does that sound good, guys? So Dark says yes, sir. What about the others? What happened to Prashant and Ghansham, Manisha, Technical Stack, Anil Chandar? Are you guys still here? Sakshi, Shubham, Aman, Komal, right? I would want to receive a yes from everyone, guys. Let's keep this session interactive, like I said, right? So thank you, Ganesh, for replying. Thank you, Prateek. Very much appreciated. So, all right. So if the logic is clear, there's one more thing that I will talk to you guys about, and that is something that we haven't discussed. And great, great. I'm glad. So that is the fact that how are these questions even coming, right? How are we showing these questions, and how many questions are we showing, and how does the code know what the correct answer is, what the correct answer is not, right? Have I increased, added some kind of an AI which is just giving me questions? No. So I'll tell you the way to do that is very, very simple. What I've done is I've already created a JSON, and the JSON is nothing but it is a JavaScript object, right? And so it is basically an array containing objects, correct? And the job is also very simple. We have an array which has different objects. Every object has a question, every object has an options, and every object has an answer. So whatever quiz that we are on, we will see what is the question. We will show all the options, and whenever a option is clicked, right? Whenever an option is clicked, let's say I start the quiz again. Whenever an option is clicked, we say that this value, the value inside the option, if that value is equal to the value inside the answer, then it's a good thing, right? That means the question is correct or the option that we selected is correct. And that's about it, right? So I have already provided this array to you guys. You guys can just download this directly from the GitHub, right? Where is the GitHub? The GitHub you will find in the description. Okay, if not, let me just send this in the chats for you guys to quickly refer to. Okay, and anyways, cool. So what we'll do is I will just quickly copy this entire thing. I will create this quiz data.json file and I will tell you what is happening. So the last file that we have is this quiz data.json file. And in this file, I have put this. Okay. So this JSON is nothing but it is just an array containing objects and all of our questions are there, right? So right now I just have 15 questions, but what I will appreciate and want you guys to do is just add more questions of your choice, or if you want to expand this array, just copy this array, paste it into ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to add more questions in the same format, and ChatGPT will do that. right? So this ways you can increase the scope of your project, right? This ways you can have more and more questions and options and answers. Right now, we are technically hard coding 15 values. So our quiz contains of just 15 questions, and this is the 15 questions that we have. Make sense, guys? All good? All right. So if this is also clear, let's just get started with the coding part. Right? I hope I was able to explain all of the logic to you guys, because obviously the code you guys already have, right? The GitHub repo is with you guys. You guys can refer to it at any time. So I feel more than the code, the important part of was the logical part. So if the logic is clear to everyone, we can definitely start working on the code quickly and get done with it. Right? So what do you guys think? Shall we start with the coding part now? Great. So let's just quickly do that. Okay. So let's refer to the documentation that I have provided only. This Notion is also available to you guys in the YouTube link. Feel free to go through it and let's start. So obviously the introduction is done, the project setup is done. Let's talk about the HTML structure. So this is the HTML structure that we have already built, right? Your basic HTML starting point is there. Your we have connected our style sheet and our script, so that is also right. Then now we will talk about the adding of the HTML elements. So what all are the things that we have in this project, right? What all elements do we have? If I talk about it, if I just think about it really clearly, I say that there are only three things that we need. What do you guys think? I say that only three things are needed, or in fact, four things. The first is this top nav bar, right? After that, we need one starting page, which is this part, one starting div, then quiz div, and then we have, like, this is the quiz div that we have, and then we have the view scoreboard div, right? So basically, three divs, correct? Yes. So UK Ripple, you can definitely refer to any free APIs. I feel there should be free APIs. I will definitely update the Notion for that. But anyways, right. So the HTML just consists of three divs, right? So if I quickly show you guys what an HTML looks like, the let's just go over here quickly. So the HTML any day just thinks has just 4 5 elements, right? So obviously I told you guys we have a header. So the header was important. I told you guys that before only. So the header was there. What is the header? The header was this part, right? Apart from the header, we have three things. One, we have the start page, then we have the quiz container, and then we have the score container, right? What is the start page? This div that we see on the screen right now is the starting div. What is the scoreboard? This is the scoreboard, right? What is the quiz div? So this is the quiz div. That is it. So our entire HTML quiz app just has 4 elements. First one being the header, obviously. If you want to show the header on the top of the screen, that is where it's there. Then we have this, we have the quiz app. Then we have the starting screen. This is the starting screen, and then we have the scoreboard, right? And that is about it. So this is basically it as when it comes to our entire, our entire HTML part. And I will also explain this one by one. So let's go to the code now. All right. Something seems to be off. Okay. Okay. So this is what we have. Like I said, we have the header, we have the start page, we have the quiz container, and we have the score container. Right. Why do we have two scoreboards? Oh, this is the final score container. Okay. So basically, when the quiz ends, also we have one div that we are showing, and that is what that div is. But anyways, so we have five instead of four. We have 5 elements, right? Have a look on the screen right now and tell me if you guys are aware of what all. Yes, yes, definitely. We can definitely do that. Okay, so we can definitely do that. Don't worry about it. We will do that. Okay, Sanjeeva, sorry. And okay, so these are the 5 elements that we have, right? We have the header, we have the start page, the quiz container, the score container, and the high score page. So this is technically the final score container as well. And if you guys have a look at it, all of these are displayed none in the beginning. Do you guys see that? That we don't need to show the quiz or this or this in the very beginning. These are all display none, right? It is when the quiz starts or at specific intervals when we say display block to these. All right. So, okay, what do you guys think about this so far? The five elements, I will go through the code in each of them, but right now these are the five elements that we'll, right? I explained the header is this one, starting one is this, then view scoreboard is that, and that's about it. Sure, sure, Abhishek. I will definitely do that. So I will be writing the logic for the JavaScript, all right? But okay. So Ganesh says, what is a div? So Ganesh, every div in HTML is basically a box, right? And every box is just a container. So everything that we'll have is inside a container. So this div is called the header, and this header will have this h2, right? What is an h2? An h2 is a heading. So the fact that you see this on the screen is because of that, right? What I will do is I'll put this side by side so that I can actually explain it to you guys as well. Okay, so this part, this entire thing that you see on the screen is the your score part, right? If I show it to you right now, this is how our HTML looks. We have the your score, right? Then we have two buttons. Uh, we have two buttons over here. We have the start quiz button and the view scoreboard button, right? And this is another div. Why is this another div needed? Because you want to wrap it inside another container. So every div is basically a box, right? This thing is inside one box. This thing is inside another box. If I say display, if I remove this, right, we see everything. So what all do we see? We see we see the start quiz, we see the quiz container. Okay, what I will do is actually let me just delete all of these right now, and I'll get these one by one. Right now, let's just talk about this. Okay. So far, what do we have on the screen? We have one div, which is the header. The header is basically this one, the one at the top, right? That shows your score, your score zero. Then we have the start page. This start page is basically this div, and this div has two buttons, right? The start button and the high score button, and that is about it. So now, basically, whatever will happen is on the click of these two buttons. Make sense? So far, I think this should make sense now, right? We just have two divs. One is this one and the other is this one, right? What I will also do is I will get the styling too. The styling is also very simple, uh, right? So basically, I can style. Okay, I'm glad, Ganesh. So basically, how do I need to style my header? Okay, so if you guys go to the Notion, you guys will see that over here I've provided the initial styling that is needed as well. So if you just copy this, I'll tell you what this initial styling means. So this initial styling means firstly, we are importing the font. Because if you guys saw right now, the font that was in our hosted project and the font that was in our black screen project was not the same. So first we got the font. And then after that, what did we do? After that, we added this code, right? So basically, we're giving our body a little background color. We're making the text white. This is the font that we have imported from Google Fonts. Okay. Display is flex, center, center. The reason why these two are center is so that everything is centrally aligned on the screen, right? Then, if you guys see over here, everything on the screen, right? Everything on the screen is centrally aligned, be it this div, be it the scoreboard, right? Or be it the quiz, right? It is all centrally aligned, correct? So to make it centrally aligned, we have used flex, and that's about it. So right now, if I go, this is how my code looks, and the reason for that is also because of this thing only that we have flex. Now, what I want to do is to my header, what I'll say is, okay, to my header, I'm going to say give this a position of fixed, right? And top should be zero, correct? I'll give this a background color as well. The background color should be given in the Notion. I think this is it. Right. So if we go over here, and I will give this the width of 100% as well. Right. And I will say text align center. Great. So just like that, our scoreboard is also there. Right. So what have I done is I have set position fixed that will put it at the top. Then I've given a top of zero. I've given a background of this, width of this, and text line center. This means this is always on the center of the screen. Cool. That makes sense. And what we can also do is, I will just, instead of giving this, I'll say display flex over here, and I'll say justify content space between. I will say align item center, right? And I will also give this a padding of 0 rem and 1.5 rem. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that. Hmm. Ideally, the padding should have worked. Why did the padding not work? Hmm. That is strange. For some reason, our padding is not working. So padding is this horizontal, this thing that we see. So inside of this, hmm, that is a bit strange. I can give my H2 a padding then, or to this I can just give a margin left, right? Great. Okay. So the reason why I did that is basically because what I will be doing is I will have, we'll have our score over here also, and what I will do is I'll also have your username, right? Because you guys wanted me to have my username on the screen as well, right? Or I can just have this directly, right? This is what we'll have is we'll have the score on the left and we will have our username on the right. I think Sanjeeva wanted me to do that. So Sanjeeva, here you go. You'll be adding our username on the right. Okay. Anyways. All right. Apart from this, what I wanted to do was I wanted to quickly style this part as well. Right. So what is this part? This is our start page. So even our start page needs to have that, right? So the styling of that has also been given. This is the styling that you guys can just copy blindly, honestly. And this styling will, what the styling will do is this styling will just make our UI look like this, right? So now at least the start quiz and the view scoreboard looks like this, right? What it did was it put it in the center of the screen. It gave it a little background and it gave it a little shadow as well, right? Cool. So if you guys want to make it a little better, what I've done is over here in our CSS, we also have our button stylings, right? So where is our button? These are all of our buttons that we have, right? So let me just copy these button stylings, and that's it. So what these button styling means is that we have given a border to our button, we have given it a border radius, we have made sure that the color is white, text is in the center, right? We have done all of those things. This way, is at least all of our buttons look a little better now. So this is how everything will be looking. Cool. So far, so good, right? So basically, what I've done is I've added this your score over here. I've added the no username, and we have styled this div. Right now, on clicking of this, nothing really happens. Okay, and now I will show you what we need to do to basically do something on the click of the buttons, right? So okay, basically that is something that we'll be doing using a script.js. So I'll just show you. So let's say if the user clicks on high score button, what do we need to do? So I will copy this ID and I'll go to the script.js, and over here I'll just say that let high score button is equal to document.get element by ID. What is the button? High score button, right? So this is, I just technically, what did I do over here? I just stored this particular element in a variable, right? Now what I can do is I can say high score button dot add event listener, and on the click of this, right, on the click of this, I can basically do an event, right? And I can just say console.log, or I can say alert high score click, right? So now the moment I click start quiz, nothing really happens. But the moment I click on this, I see this. How is that happening? Basically, I got my particular element using the ID. So we have over here an ID given. So ID is equal to high score button ID. So I copied this inside our script.js. I got my particular element. I said document.get element by ID high score button. So we got our particular buttons. We basically, this is something that is called a selector. So we basically selected this element and I added an event lister. I said that if the button is clicked, we will be running this function. So this function is run whenever the button is clicked. So if I click on this, we see an alert, right? Does this make sense? So how many of you guys, does this make sense to how many of you guys? Right? Because now this is the part where I'll be showing you guys that we'll be showing show the scores or score there. Right? So this is the main part. Okay. So basically what we are going to do is, like I said, in our index.html, if you guys remember, in our index.html, we had multiple divs, right? This was our score container, or I think this was it, the high score page. What I will do is I will have an high score page over here, and by default, the display is none to this. So what do I need to do? Basically, I need to say document dot get in by ID. What was the ID of this div? This div was high score page, right? So basically, I need to say high score page dot display. Sorry, dot style dot display is equal to block. And what do I need to do? Okay, so now let's see what happens. So if I click on this now, we see high scores as well. But if you guys look at it, the UI got disturbed, right? So what do I need to do? I need to say that, okay, it is good that you showed this, but what we need to do is we need to make sure that our starting page, so this start page is gone. So I need to say document.get in by ID, get our start page and say display none over here. So basically what happens is I see my high scores now. Do you guys understand what we did? Now, similarly, what we need to do the same thing is we do the same thing inside our quiz container. That is why we need a quiz container inside our HTML. Right? And what is the quiz container? It's just a div which will have a progress bar, which will have a questions. I will talk about these things as well in a second. But basically, this is also display none by default. But when I click on the start button, I need to do something like this. Instead of high score button, we'll have start button, start quiz button, right? And this will be start button, right? So on the click of this, what do I need to do? I need to say start page is none, but what do I need to show on the screen? I need to show this quiz container. So I need to say dot quiz container is display block. Does this make sense? So now basically what will happen is when I click on start quiz, I see this, right? When I click on scoreboard, I will see my scoreboard. Cool. That sounds good. What do you guys think? How many of you guys are getting this so far? I know this is a little complicated for a beginner, so don't worry. Like I said, I'm trying my best to slowly teach you guys all of these concepts. But I will have to pick up the pace because otherwise we just have an hour and need to quickly get done with this project, right? But okay, cool. A lot of you guys are with me. Great. So now, did you understand why do we need all of these 5 divs? Right? So basically, each div is supposed to just help us show something, and that's it, right? We on the click of start quiz, we do something and we show some div. Click on scoreboard, we do something and we show something, right? Now the only HTML element that is left technically was this one, the score container. So I'll quickly just add this as well, and that's about it. Right? I will explain the HTML again right now, but okay. The only HTML that you need to currently worry about is the main quiz part. I think the header is clear to everyone. The start page is clear to everyone. Right? Right now we will talk about the quiz container and we will not talk about the other divs that we have. Yes. So this is basically what you guys need to isolate and have a look at. Right. Just have a look at this. I'm just going to add a lot of spaces so all you guys can see on the screen is this, and you guys worry about this part. Okay. Now this is the part that we're going to worry about. This is basically where all of our entire logic is behind. Right. So even for a second, you can Forget about the progress bar. We will take care of the progress bar as well. That is something we'll do towards the end. Right now, let's just discuss the main quiz logic. Right. So every quiz element, let's say we are giving a quiz. We are giving this quiz. So every quiz element, what does it have? It has a percentage. It has a bar. Right. If I show you in the code, what do we have over here? Hmm, okay, just a second. I'm struggling a little for this. Okay. So what do we have over here? We have a progress bar, right? We have, okay. So see, every quiz element will have a percentage. So this is a percentage text. It will have a bar. So this is a bar, right? I can have this a little above it. Okay. So what we'll have is we'll have the percentage text. This is the bar. Here it is the bar, right? Then we have the question. So we have an S2 heading to who invented the telephone. This is the question, right? Then we have four buttons. These are the four buttons. Then we have a message. Where does the message show? So in fact, what I'll do is I'll have the message below this. The reason for that is let's say I click on something. Here's the message, right? The message is technically above the question only, right? So this message is basically this message. Then we have these buttons. These are the four buttons. And the fifth button, which is the display none initially, which is the next button comes after we click this question. So is the structure for our main quiz container also clear? What do you guys think? Hmm? Are you guys with me? Great, cool, cool. Okay, so this is basically the main structure, right? Now, if I talk about the script.js, now this is the part where we'll be starting all of our script.js. So far, what do we have is we have start quiz, we have scoreboard. I will be fixing all of these event listeners as well, but our UI is done, right? Sometimes I'm struggling. What does that mean, Prashant? Anyways. Okay, so I just attached the styles because I don't want to waste time on styles. The styles you guys can see we are running a little short on time. Now we'll come to the main script logic. All right. So far this is what we have on the screen, and oh, I will have to fix. Just a second, guys. So the header, we had fixed the header. So what I will have to do is display flex by content. Cool. Okay, great. Right, and I think instead of H2, we can have these as H3 also, but never mind. Okay, great, great. JS code not understanding, Prashant says, and Gurv says yes, working same. Okay, so all right. So now we'll come back to the JS part. Don't worry, I will explain the JS part in detail. That is what the main project is at the end of the day. Okay. So for now, I will just quickly get rid of whatever we have written, right? And I will make the code a little modular for you guys. All right. So far you need to understand that JS is basically where all of our code will be. It is basically the brains of our entire thing, right? And that is about correct. So, all right, I need to start with a given flow, right? And what will be the flow is something that we need to discuss, right? So, firstly, I'll be starting off with all of our variables, right? We need to make all of our variables, and I'll tell you why. The variables are necessary to store all of the data. Right. So, like I told you guys, what does the quiz data JSON have? Quiz data JSON is an array with objects, right? So basically, and our quiz needs to go one by one. So there should be a counter for that. What do you guys think? That what question are we at? So basically, we'll be creating a variable called let current questions. Let current question we'll be starting with the zeroth question. So, how many of you guys are aware of the fact that that an index starts with a zero in an array. I think most of you guys should be well versed with that, right? That basically the first index of any element is zeroth element, correct? Apart from that, we need to have a variable for our username also. We need to have a variable for our score also. So we'll have score is zero. We'll have let username. Right? By default, the username will be an empty string. Okay. We will also need to have our quiz data. So quiz data is basically this array, right? This is the array of questions. Okay. We need to have selected option, and I think that is it. I'll tell you what all of these variables do. Right? We need to also have our high score technically. So I'll explain the high score logic as well. Right now, we don't need to worry about the high scores logic. But right now, let me just say zero, hard coded. Okay. So we have all the variables needed. So we have around six variables, right? We have the current question, we have the score, we have the high scores, we have the quiz data, and we have the username and selected option. The selected option is basically the selected value, right? This will basically be the selected value saying that, okay, this is the value of the option that we have selected. This array of questions is what is needed. All right. Anyways, okay. So load quiz data, great. Okay. So how many of you guys are with me so far? We will be. Let me just get rid of this. We are starting afresh, right? How many of you guys have understood the need for all of these variables? First, tell me that. So we are using let just to initialize a variable. I think in AS6 we started using let. If you guys want, you guys can say var as well. Const, I will not suggest you guys say const because const is something which is it's a constant, right? We don't want constants, we want variables. Okay. So how many of you guys have understood all of these variables that will be needed? We need a variable for current question. We need a variable for score. We need a variable for high score. We need a variable for username. We need a variable for quiz data, and we need a variable for selected option. Yes, exactly. Okay. Now, what we'll be doing is we will be starting off with the first thing that we need to do. So, what is the first thing that we need to do is let's talk about start quiz. The user comes over here and the user clicks on start quiz. We need to do something for that, right? So, we are going to write the start quiz logic first. Okay. So, the first step to that is basically saying that first document.get element by ID. When the user gets that particular element that we had, right, the start quiz one, that is when we will be starting the quiz. Correct. Okay. Just a second. I'm having a look at something and start button. Okay. So that's about it. So have a look at this. So like I said, we'll be making our entire code very modular, and this is what that means, and I'll tell you. Okay, and I'll have this function called start quiz over here. Okay, so have a look at this. Basically, we got the element by ID start button and added an event listener called click. So on the click of this, we'll be running this function called start quiz. What is start quiz? Start quiz is this function, right? So as soon as I click on this button, I get an alert that the quiz has started. Right now, instead of an alert, what do you guys think we needed to do? Do you guys remember what we had to do? We had to use a prompt. Am I right? You're supposed to use a prompt. So how will we use that prompt? Correct. So to use a prompt, it's very simple in JavaScript. You just need to say username, whatever was the variable, is equal to prompt, and you can just have a prompt over here, and you can have the prompt say enter your username, right? And then you can have console.log username, and we can just show our username. Correct. So now basically what's going to happen is this will open up the prompt, and on the opening of the prompt, whatever data is there, it will be stored in this variable. This is the variable, and then we'll just console log it. Correct. So if I go over here, click on start quiz, I see a prompt, I say Avi. Right. Nothing really happens, but if I inspect my element and go to my console, you do see that our username is there, right? So this part is also working. Correct. So now what did we have to do? So firstly, I had to do a basic logic saying if username is there, else alert, please enter your username. Okay. So now the user cannot just enter anything. Right. Great. Okay. So over here now what we need to do is I need to do two things. I need to first say document dot get element by ID. And what do I need to do? I need to get my particular not my high score. I need to get my username and I need to save that. Right. Get element by ID username. And what do I need to do? I need to say dot inner text is equal to username. Right. Then what do I need to do? I need to get rid of this div. And how did we do that? We said document dot get element by ID. I think it was called start page. I need to say start page dot display none. So I'll be saying dot style dot display is equal to none, right? And then what do I need to do? I need to say document dot get in by ID. What do we need to show? Quiz container. So I need to say dot quiz container display block dot style dot display is equal to block. So this phase, two things will be happening. Right. As soon as I click on start quiz, we get this prompt. I enter my prompt. As soon as I click on OK, if I click on cancel, this will run. If I click on OK, I will have basically this part. I will do these two things. If I click on OK, I see that Avi is my username and I see the quiz container as well. So how many of you guys is this clear to? What do you guys think about this? Okay. So I'll just tell you what I did right now. But how many of you guys is this clear to? So Ramya says clear, Aman says clear, Hema says clear. Okay, I'm glad that a lot of you guys are clear with this. Thank you so much. Okay. So somebody said use names, and Jiva, you can use name. It's completely fine. So I'll tell you basically what's happening now. So as soon as we click on start quiz, our prompt will be there. I enter something. As soon as I click on enter, what will happen now if we go to our inspect element? If I go to the console, I'll show you what we have done. So not only are we showing our username and everything, but over here I'm also loading the quiz data now, right? So what I've done is once everything is done, we'll call this load quiz data. Now this is the function where we'll be loading our quiz data, right? What is our quiz data? This is our quiz data, but this array is an empty array. How do I get this array from? I'll be getting this array from our quiz data.json. If you guys remember, this is the JSON that we had. I need to make a function to basically get all of this data from this JSON into that array, right? This basically, this entire thing, I need to get it over here. Does that make sense or not? Does this make sense? Now to do that, that is very, very simple. All I need to do is use the fetch function. And what I'll do is I'll just say const rest is equal to, I can just say fetch, or I can say await also. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll make this function as an async function. Okay. And async function is what allows us to fetch data. So I'll say fetch. And what will I be fetching from? I'll just say quiz data dot slash quiz data dot JSON. Right. Then I'll just say quiz data is equal to res.json. And that's it. As soon as I do that, I can now console.log quiz data and I can show you guys this. And basically what will happen is the moment I inspect my element and show you my console, you will realize. So I started my quiz, entered the username, clicked on OK. Right. Res.json is not a function. Mm, oh, I need to put await over here also. I'm so sorry, guys. Uh, yeah, async await, right? I need to put await over here. So basically, async function, then we'll be basically waiting for this to load the data. Then the data we'll be waiting for it to get converted into a JSON. And now when I do this, let's say now when I click OK, I see my quiz data, which is an array of all of these questions. Right? What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? Right? So basically, what we have done is we have said that we'll be loading our data using. Okay. So Pratik says, why are we using await? So Pratik, the reason why we're using await is because this operation is what we call as an async operation. And for an async operation, we just need to say that okay, this data is something which is coming from somewhere else. Now that data can take 10 seconds, it can take some milliseconds, it can never come, it may come, right? That is why we tell JavaScript that hey, you need to wait for this data because this data is not in my control, right? This data is something that is coming from a different file or from a different location. So you say that you will have to wait for this data. So first we fetch that data, then we say that okay, when the data is fetched, converted into a JSON, now that will also take some time. This JSON is just 15 elements, right? What if this instead of 15, this was 15,000 elements? You can still load that, but won't that take a little time? And if that is taking a little time, won't you have to tell your script that, hey, you'll have to wait for some time? This data will come in some time, right? Yeah, definitely, Komal. So you can just hard code your value, right? So Komal says, can't we just use without using JSON? Definitely you can. Just copy this and paste it over here. Make your quiz data variable, that array, and you're good to go. All right? That makes sense? Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yes, Sanjeeva, you can definitely use an API. Like I said, I will have to do some research and give you guys a free API. As of right now, I don't have a free API with me, obviously. But once I get the free API, I will make sure that I update the JSON, update the Notion, right? Anyways, so now you need to realize that once our quiz data is here, okay. So I do get that this is an advanced concept. So a lot of you guys might not understand it. But what I will say is, we just did this. We just wrote this function to get the data. Now we have that array. Okay, does that make sense? Now the fact is that we have our array of questions. Cool. I think that should be clear. Great, great. So now that we have an array of questions. What do we need to do? We just need to load the question. So I told you guys that we will be breaking it down into functions, right? So now I will call a question called I'll call a function called load question, right? I will make this function called load question, and what will this load question do? This will just display the question on the screen. Does that make sense? Because right now, all of this div was empty, right? This div was empty. I need for a function to say that, okay, now you will be putting all of these questions there. Correct? So now look at the best part. So right now, what is the question that is there? I need to show the first question. How do I show the first question? And what does the first question mean? It means the zeroth question. What does it mean? It means the zeroth question. So this is the index that I need to load. So basically what I'll say is I'll say console.log current question. So what is the current question? It will be quiz data, right? Brackets, current question, right? So now when I start the quiz, what is my current question? Who invented the telephone? And if you guys have a look at our JSON, this is actually the first question, right? So basically, now I think everything should be coming together. We will load a question. Now, when the user says next question, what do we need to do? I need to increment this by one. I need to say then the current question will be current question plus one, then again plus one, right? So this ways, every time I load that, I will load a new question. Does this make sense? Yes, Komal, you can definitely do that. All right. So what do you guys think about this? Did this make sense? We will be loading a question, and every time we load a question, what we'll be doing is we'll be getting the current question index. Now, this is the main thing. This is the main deal, and that's about it, right? So, is this clear to everyone? You guys tell me. Yes, we will be using yeah, not a loop. You can use a while loop, Sanjeev, but a loop is not needed. Okay, you can definitely use a while loop, or you can use a loop will be tough. But if you have a set timeout, then you can use a loop. But okay, anyways, let's talk about the logic now. So now, what will be a load question? Our load question will just have to load the question. So we already have the object. So basically, what I'll do is I'll copy this and I'll say const question object equal to this. Right? So basically, my question, this is basically the question that I have. Then what do I need to do? I need to basically say document dot get element by ID. Right? What do I need to get? I will be displaying my question first. So let's go to our index.html and question. This question is the question that I need. Correct. If I go over here, I'll say document.getIn by ID dot question dot inner text. What is the inner text? It is quiz data. It is a it is basically this question object, sorry, question object dot. What do you guys think? Question object dot question. Right? The moment I do that, what happens now? I start my quiz. I see who invented the telephone. Great. Now, similarly, what do we need to do is now I will be running a for loop for all of my four options. So if you guys go to our index.html, over here you'll see we have four buttons with IDs button 0, button 1, button 2, button 3. This has been done on purpose. So now what I will be doing is I will be running a for loop as if for let I is equal to 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus. Inside this for loop, I will get a particular button, an option. I'll say get element by this button. I'll do some string interpolation, right? This way I will get button 0, then button 1, button 2, button 3, right? I can just make a variable for this. I can say const button or option is equal to this, right? Once that is done, I can just say button dot uh, inner text firstly. Button dot inner text will be question dot object dot options now, right? What was my JSON? Options, then options I. So then dot options, then I, right? And that's it. Then what will I do? I will add a particular class name as well. I'll say class name is equal to, this is for the styling part, okay? This is purely for the styling part. I'll say option, right? What will I also do is I'll make this, I will come back to this in a second, but okay. I will say disabled is false, so that the button is no longer disabled. I will say button dot opacity is 1, so that the opacity is 1, and I'll say button dot cursor dot style dot cursor is default. Okay. The reason why I did these three things, I'll tell you in a while. We need to reset the buttons, obviously, right? But right now, just understand. Did you guys understand this part? What we're doing is we're getting every button, button 0, button 1, button 2, button 3, and I'm setting their inner text to the options part. So now, if I start my quiz and if I write my username, I already see this. Right? I already see this. Isn't that cool? Right? And I will also do one more thing. I will also set a few things to null, right? This is needed. This will be, I'll be doing this in, I'll tell you why we're doing this. But this is just to set the message as null and the next button also to make it disappear, right? But for now, do you guys get this? So Komal, for that, I will have to have a look at your code, but okay. We will be adding the methods, right? So basically now, so far what we have done is we are just loading the question. Now what we want to do is we want to add, so right now we have done this part. The fact that we are showing the question and we're showing the options. Now on the click of these options, something needs to happen. And on the click of that function, then something needs to happen, right? We're talking about that chain of functions that we have. So now basically if I talk about it, what do we need to do? We need to make a function which basically says, which will basically take care of the fact that, okay, one of these options is getting clicked, right? So now basically what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a for loop. Okay, and I'll tell you again why I'm creating that for loop, right? So basically out of this everything, I'll have a for loop and I'll just say, okay, this part is basically to add even listeners for the options. So, all right. This is basically we are adding an event listener for our options. And so basically, again, we have four options, right? So I'll do the same thing. I'll say I is equal to 0, I is equal to 4, I plus plus. Then inside this for loop, I'll obviously get my particular button or I'll add an event listener directly. So I'll just say document dot get element by ID, right? What is that ID? It is, I think, button dash I, correct? Yes. And then I'll be adding an add event listener. So on the click of these buttons, I need to do something. Right. Now, what do I need to do? I need to basically first, I need to get the button. So I'll say const option or selected option or whatever. So I'll say selected option is equal to event dot target. If you guys remember what is the selected option, this is the selected option, right? And I will just console log this value for you so I can show you guys what's happening. We're almost there, guys. So don't worry, the app is almost done. So okay, have a look at this now. We start the quiz. Now, as soon as I click on this, do you guys see what button did I select? If I click on this, do you guys see? I can now basically get the button that I have particularly selected. Does that make sense? Now, all I need to do is I need to do the comparison. I need to check. So how will I check? I will just say that, okay, I will say if my quiz data, right? If the selected option dot answer, right? If the answer is equal to selected option dot inner text, correct? If this equates, this means we have the correct answer. Else we have the wrong answer, right? And that is about it. So now let me just console.log correct and wrong also, correct and console log wrong. So have a look at this. I started the quiz, went over here, said okay. If I click on Thomas Edison, uh, something is wrong. Just a second. Quiz data. Okay, let's have a look. Quiz data dot selected option dot answer, right? So quiz data dot selected option dot answer. If that answer is equal to mm, hmm, let's see. Okay, so instead of this, what we'll do is options I. And instead of this, what I'll do is I'll just say dot answer, right? The reason for that is basically, let's see. Something is wrong again. Hmm. Oh, this is outside the for loop. No, this is still inside the for loop. Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry, guys. I think even the previous logic would have worked then. I'm so sorry. So, what was the previous logic that we said? Dot answer is equal to dot answer is equal to selected option dot inner text, right? Let's see this works. So, cannot read properties of undefined reading answer. Quiz data dot selected option. No, this is the current question. Now this will work. So basically, if the current question's answer matches the inner text, right? So if I go over here and if I say this wrong, correct, wrong, wrong, correct, right? So now we are basically getting what we want to see, right? Any doubts in this so far? So this is basically where all of our logic is taking place. If it is correct, we'll increment the score, right? If it is not, we will not increment the score. Then we also need to do something. We need to say document dot get an by ID score. Then I need to say dot inner text. It needs to be score. So We update the score as well. Then what do I need to do? I need to say selected option dot class name. Then I need to append that class name. I need to say option dash button dash correct. Correct is a class name that I have, and yeah, that is about it. And I need to also add the message. So I need to say document dot get by ID message. And what will be the message? The message will be correct answer, right? Correct. So similarly, if the option is the other way around, if it's wrong, what do I need to do? I need to not update the score. The score doesn't matter. This needs to be wrong, and this needs to be wrong answer. Right. This phase, what happens now is, let's say if I go over here, if I click on Thomas, it says wrong answer. If I click on Alexander, it says correct answer. Albert Einstein, wrong answer. Nicola, wrong answer, right? But as you guys can see, this is why it is important to reset. And this is why it is important to say that only one, basically, only one button will be selected. So for that, what I'll be doing is I will basically be going through another for loop. I'll say let j is equal to 0, j is less than 4, right? And j plus plus, and then I'll be going through all of the options again, right? And inside all of the options, I'm going to say, I'm going to make all of them disabled. So I'm going to say get in by ID. I'm going to say button. Then I'm going to say the particular button that is there, right? Uh, then I'm going to get that button, or I can just say disabled. It's true. So when disabled is true, basically what happens is we cannot click on it again, right? Similarly, I will have dot style dot opacity as 0.8 or something, 0.5, right? Similarly, I will have the style dot cursor, and what will be the cursor? Not allowed. So this is a cursor value, not allowed, right? So basically what happens now is, if I start my quiz, if I click on something, everything else becomes disabled. Right. Now the only thing is, everything should be disabled except for my selected option. So now I'll just do the same thing again. I'll say selected option dot style dot display, and I'll make the display for style dot opacity, and I'll make the opacity for this as well. This way, at least the selected option that I have, that doesn't get disabled, right? And one more thing that we need to do is I need to say next button should be visible. So I need to say uh, document dot get in by ID, then next dash button, and I need to say dot style dot display block. So this way is basically now what happens is whatever option you click, we see a next question, right? No matter whatever option you click, if it's the correct or the wrong, we see next question, and I cannot click these again. The only thing that I can click is the next question, and now on the click of the next question, I need to load the next question. So how many of you guys understood the main logic? How many of you guys understood the main logic? Clear. Sanjeeva says clear. What about the others? I see a lot of people have dropped, and I feel that is because things have gotten a little complicated. I understand that, but stay with me. Trust me, you guys will understand everything. Right? So now the only thing that is left is the next question part. So now on clicking on the next question, what do we need to do? Right? So we need to run another function, and that another function is what we call as the uh, basically we need to call the next question, right? So we'll have an event listener, right? Obviously. So let's go over here, and I'll tell you the event listener that we'll be adding. So we'll just say document dot get in by ID next button, right? What is the event listener that we'll be adding? So dot add event listener on click. We need to do something, and what do we need to do on click? We need to run a function. Now you need to understand that we only need to show the next question when the next question is there, right? So for that we need to basically say that if the current question is equal to or is greater than equal to, I think greater than equal to will also work, or they can just say if that is less than, yeah, if that is less than quiz data dot length. Quiz data is an array. That means next question, right? If else, basically, when the current question has is equal to the last question, that means we need to end the quiz, right? End quiz. So now, when we want to load the next question, what we need to do, we just need to say current question is equal to current question plus plus, right? And I think that is something that we'll be doing anyways. But as soon as we click on it, we can do it. But anyways, then what we need to do is we need to call the load question again. If you guys remember, load question is this question, right? This function, it loads the question, and we need to improve the progress bar. Now the logic for the progress bar comes. The progress is nothing but it's a percentage. So I can just say const progress is equal to what? It is equal to current question divided by question quiz data dot length into 100. This will give me a percentage, correct? Into 100, right? Then what do I need to do? I have already created a div. So basically, you need to, this is the styling that you need, okay? This is just part of the styling. And I'll just tell you what this is. So basically, we said that the width of that will be equal to the progresses percentage, and then we just show the progress and update the text also. That's it. So now this phase, what happens is when I click over here, I click on add diagram, next question. This improves, and the next question is here. Right. Now, do you guys see this? For some reason, over here, the opacity never improves. So how do I change that? I feel that is something that we did over here on loading of the question. I said button dot style dot opacity. My bad. Right. So this is right. Now it's back to the same thing again. Great. And yeah, that's about it. So now even the next question is working. So basically, we'll be showing all the questions now, right? If a question is correct, we see the correct thing, green. If it's wrong, we see wrong answer, right? Nothing wrong in this. This is working. This is just a for loop, so this will definitely work now. The only thing that is left is the last part now. So this is the last question, which is the highest waterfall. When I click on Niagara Falls or Angel Falls, when I click on next question, so basically I need to do something that when I click on next, I need to now show that the quiz has ended. Right. So when I click on this, I just basically need to say that hey, the quiz has ended because there are no more questions. So for that, we'll be creating another function called end quiz. What is that function? We'll just say function over here, end quiz. And what will my end quiz function do? My end quiz function will basically show us that scoreboard first. We need to show the scoreboard. Then on the, that's it. We just need to show the scoreboard, right? And that's it. So we also need to save the data, but we'll come to that. But before that, all we need to do now is we just need to say document dot get element by ID, right? We need to get rid of, so we just need to get rid of this quiz container, right? We need to get rid of this quiz container. So say dot style dot display go to none, and we need to get the final score container, right? So I need to get this. So I need to say document dot get element by ID. Then I need to get that particular element, this thing, and I need to say display block, right? So the moment I do that, let's say we start a quiz, and now this will be a long process. We might reduce the array for a little while. Don't worry, so that we don't have to always do this. Now we see this. Cool. Now we see this, and we can restart quiz or go to the home page, whatever we want to, right? So instead of restart quiz, I'll say go home, go back, right? And in this restart button, I can have an event listener. In my style.css, I'll have to put it over here also where the buttons are. By the script, I will say something like document dot get by ID, this thing. Then I say dot add event listener. Then on the click of this event listener, I'll say event. And what do we need to do? We basically need to do the opposite. So I need to now get rid of the score container, and I need to show the start page. I think it was for the start page, right? Yes. So now basically we can have our quiz. I will reduce the array next time. Just give me a second. Right. As soon as we do that now, go back. I need to show my score also, obviously, and we can just go back and we go back. Right. So now over here, what do I need to do? I need to show my score. So when my end quiz is being called, I need to also update that thing. So I just need to say document dot get in by ID. Then what is the ID? Uh, score dash. I need to say your score is, then over here dot score dot inner text, right? And that's about it. Correct. Now let me change the array for you guys quickly. So let's just say we have three questions. Rest everything we will comment. Okay, commenting is not allowed, so I just got rid of it. So now we just have two questions. One is this, and the other is this. Next question. Score is zero. Go back. Right. Cool. Okay, we also need to reset all of the values. So that is also something that we need to do. Because if you guys look at it, what is happening now is this thing is happening, right? So since we are allowing the user to go back, we need to reset all the values. So I have to say that current question is equal to zero, selected option is equal to null, right? Score is equal to zero as well. And um, I think that should be it. Start quiz, this, we end this, go back, start quiz. Hmm. For some reason, okay. Even is the we need to set this also as zero and score, high score. Just a second. We basically need to set everything as back to null, right? Apart from the questions array, and I think this should be it. Why is the progress? So I feel what we'll have to do is we'll have to get this also back. That is strange. So now at least our progress will also. Yes, we're starting afresh. Cool. So how many of you guys are with me on this so far? So for that, Aman, you will have to randomize when the array is loaded. So when we fetch it, then just randomize it and then you're good to go. Okay? So Shubham says something that the reason is only the pace. I understand, Shubham. Obviously, this is just a 2 hour this thing, right? But like I said, I'm trying my best. So do let me know. And yes, we resetted the username as well. Okay. Yes, you can also get unique questions. So far, have you guys understood what we're doing? So basically, we are almost done with our entire application, right? What do you guys think? We're almost done with our entire application, right? The only thing that is now remaining is the fact that we need to quickly do the scoreboard logic, and that's it. Correct. So before we do that, yes, yes, I feel everyone deserves a much deserved break. So what we will do is let me float out the forms for the certificate so you guys can get the forms. So the certificate forms will be floated to you guys in just a second, and you guys can then fill those forms and get the certificates because we are almost done, right? So again, like I said, the certificate forms will be floated in just a moment, and let's just wait for that to happen. I have notified the team, and So basically, you guys can now sign up on that, fill in your details, and you will receive the certificate. So the link has been given. So do let me know if you guys face any issues in the link, and let's take a 5 minute break. So at 2:45, we will continue again, right? So take the 5 minute break and fill out those forms. Ask me any doubts that you have. Until then, let's just take a break, right? And leave a +1 once you guys are done with filling the forms. So Aman, you can search me and just search my name directly, and you guys will be able to get my LinkedIn. But yes, if you ever have any doubts, feel free to hit me up over there. Thank you, Aman. No worries. I'm glad you feel that way. And okay, so what's the update, guys? Is the form opening? What do you guys feel? Is everyone comfortable? And leave a +1 when you guys are done by filling the form, so that we can start the class again. Okay. So just leave a +1 when you guys are done filling the form so that we can continue. Thank you, Prashant, for informing us. What about the others? Digvijay also says +1. Tarun also says +1. Great. Shubham says done. Okay. That is amazing, guys. Right. Yash also +1. Okay. So let's just wait for 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes, and then we'll continue. So 36 of you guys are watching right now. So we have around one, 2, 3, 10, right? We have around 10 people who are done. Great. So Anjali is done, Neeraj is done. Good job, guys, and congratulations for getting the certified workshop done, right? And we're almost towards the end of the class now, so don't worry. The only thing is left is the scoreboard, and that's it. Right? So Sakshi is done, Uttam is done. Again, let's wait for 2 more minutes, and then we'll be done. So, okay, battery is done. Jageshwar, um, so is polish convert. Okay. So Dark Hanger, you have asked this question quite a lot times. So something that I want to know is what do you mean convert a UI directly into code? Because Figma provides that. If you talk in terms of HTML, you can just go over here HTML and you can definitely just copy the entire element, right? So you can just copy this entire element, and so you can just copy this. For the styles part, also you can copy the entire styles, right? So those things are there. You can get the styles of any websites of this thing. So let's say if I refresh again, uh, I will receive the style too. So let's say if I refresh this style.css, so if you open this, here is all the styles, right? So you can receive all the styles, you can receive all the HTML for every website. Correct? So yes, $sign is used to import the variable. That's about it. Okay, it's called string interpolation. It's a concept in JavaScript that allows you to put a variable inside a string. All right. Anyways, so guys, now the only thing that is left is for us to take care of our high school logic or scores logic, right? So basically, what we need to do is we need to update the score every time the user is there. So for this, we'll be using what we call as local storage, right? So okay, that is also something which is fairly simple, right? So the logic for that is, like I said, fairly simple. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to store your high score. So what we'll be doing is basically you need to we're not technically storing our high scores anymore. All we're storing is a score. So okay, I'll just tell you what you need to do. So basically, firstly, we need to get all of our high scores. So I'll tell you what your or get all of our scores. Just a second, I'll tell you. Okay. So see, what we want to do is we want to just append a list, right? So how many of you guys know what local storage is? So what we are going to do is we're going to get our local storage, get item, and the item that we'll get is scores. And I'll also do JSON dots parse to this. And anyway, so I'll just say const scores or scores is equal to this, right? And JSON dot parse else is going to be an empty array. So what this means is that scores is going to be an empty array or it's going to have something this, right? Once that is done, what I will do is I'll say scores dot push, and what do I want to push is I want to push this high score that we recently have. So for that, we create an object. The object will have a username. The username of the person will be the username that we have, right? This is something that we need to do before resetting of the values. We need to pass the score as well. So the score will be the score, correct? And we need to pass the date. So the date is basically going to be new date, ISO string. Why ISO string? It just the ISO string is the simplest or the shortest way to save it. Right. Once this is done, what will I do? I will say local storage dot set item and scores, and that's it. Right. So now basically every time we end the quiz, have a look at this. If I go to my application and if I go to my local storage, right now there's nothing over here. When I start my quiz, click over here, click on this, and 1007. My score is 1. If you guys look at this, I saved my username, I saved my score, and I saved this in an array, right? So now basically when I go back, start my quiz again, let's say I start with the second word, surname, like the second variable over here. I do this, and then I do this. Next question, we see this, right? So do you guys see how this is being appended anyways, right? So now basically what we need to do is on the click of view scoreboard, we just want to show all of that, right? So what is your view scoreboard going to be? It's going to be document dot get element by ID. What is the element that we want? The element is this. Where did it go? The high score button. So on the click of the high score button, we want to show the high score page, right? So high score button dot add event lister. Then inside this, on the click of this, what do we need to do? We need to show the high score page, right? I need to say document dot get it by ID, the high score page, and I need to say dot style dot display is equal to B. And what do I need to remove? I need to remove the start page. So I'll say dot start page display none. Right? So basically on the click of this, we see our high scores. Now inside my high scores, what do I need to do? Right, inside my high scores, what do I need to do? Inside my high scores, I need to show a list of all of my high scores, right? That's about it. So how do I do that? For that, what I'll be doing is I will be mapping my array of scores. So first I'll obviously say uh, const scores is equal to local storage dot get item. What is the item? Scores, right? And I'll get all of my scores. I will JSON dot parse it so that it becomes a JSON. And if it is not there, I'll have it as an array, and that's it. Now I can just do scores dot map, and I can have an item, right? And I can just say or scores dot for each or whatever you want, and you can just add those things, right? So just this is what is needed. So again, this is just a very simple UI. We just have p tags. We are showing our username. We are showing our score. We are showing on the date, and that's it, right? So now if I go with here, over here, I see my scores, and that's about it. Right? Does this make sense? What do you guys think? And that's it. Just like that, or even our scores is done. Right? Going back should take us back. For some reason, it is not. Just a second. So for that, I think I'll have to say go back. Hmm. So I just have to say go back over here, go dash back, and basically we'll have the same logic that we had for restart button. For the go back button. So go back will take us back. And oh, I need to say there we go. It takes us back. Correct. So just like that, our entire project is now done, is now complete, and that is about it, right? The last 10 minutes, I would want to spend time on talking about, giving you a good conclusion, talking about some certain things. So Komal has a question. Komal says, "I am done with the quiz app. I added 4 subjects. When I click on HTML, the SQL questions are not fetching, and so on for all subjects. Can you solve this?" So I feel, Komal, this has to do something with your array and the way you're importing your questions. So have a look at the load question function similar to the one we have over here. Right. So, okay, let me give you guys a quick conclusion. Right. So we started off by getting started with the code. We made the HTML page structure. We started our JS file. We imported our questions from our JSON. Right. So now there is a lot of things that you can do to fix this JSON and make it a little better. Right. Like I said, you guys can have categories. You guys can have more questions. You guys can randomize. So one of you guys said, how do we randomize questions? So you remember when we are loading our question over here, when we load our questions, not load our question, load quiz data, sorry. So when we start our quiz and we load quiz data, what you guys can do is every time you start a quiz and you're loading the quiz data, you can, once you have loaded it, you can randomize this. So yes, Aman asked that question. So Aman, what you can do is you can randomize this array, and that way your quiz data will always be random. Okay. What you can also do is you can have an array of, let's say, 20, 30 quiz data questions, and just pick 15 out of those and then randomize those two, right? Or just pick 15 out of 30 questions, correct? So that is the first thing. And Prashant says, why are we using a JSON instead of an array? So of course you can use an array over here, Prashant. But the thing with the array was, imagine having 100 lines more, 200 lines more in your code. This way, your JSON is separate and your code is separate, right? This way, next time when you only have to update your questions, all you need to do is just go over here and update this array, right? Exactly, for efficiency and code modularity, both the reasons, right? Then what are the other things that we can do? So style everything better. You can add more animations. Today, like I said, I could not really go through the styling, but I believe that the HTML and the JS part was the most important. The styling you guys can figure out on your own, right? It's not something that is tough. Then apart from that, scoring system. The scoring system is not the most efficient. I understand that there should be a high score, there should be a recent score, and all those things. So you can add more details. So all the logic for the scoring data is in the local storage part. So just this part, right? So just push whatever data you want to, and you will be good to go, right? And that is about it. Correct. With that, we have officially come to the end of this entire quiz app. What I will do is, yes, I will also discuss the timer part. But right now, what I will quickly like to do is, I will quickly push all of this to a new repo so that you guys can refer to both the codes that are there, right? So I will quickly add this in my GitHub. That you guys can definitely have a look at both the codes, right? So what I will do is, the code is live now. So this part also I will add in the Notion. So you guys have the final GitHub link for the GitHub for live code. Right? This is the GitHub link for the live code. So feel free to go through this code as well. And talking about the timer functionality is something that is very easy and that can be done using two concepts: set interval and set timeout. So when you start the quiz, make a set timeout for, let's say, 10 minutes, right? And or let's say for 15 minutes, and for every question you give 1 minute, right? So you start a timer for the overall quiz and you start a timer for your every question. So every question can be done using a set interval, that every 1 minute you're changing the question. And set timeout is After 15 minutes, you're ending the quiz, no matter what. All right. So set interval and set timer are the two ways that you can easily implement the timer part. Categories, just change the JSON and change the JS logic. Difficulty levels, again, change the logic. For the API part, I will update this notion. So please read this notion again after a day, tomorrow by tomorrow. I will add a list of APIs that you guys can use, right? Definitely add more animations that improve the UI. And somebody said that this is not really that responsive for different screen sizes. So feel free to do that. Right. Anything else, you guys can definitely hit me up on my LinkedIn or you can just text over here. I will try my best to answer your questions. And yeah, I feel I really hope that I was able to provide value to you guys through this session. I was able to help you guys make a project that you guys are proud of. Definitely expand this on your own, work on extra features. That is something that I said in the very beginning. And thank you for giving me your time. And I hope I was able to genuinely give you guys some value. And towards the end, I would just like to say that this is not the first project that we're making on the AccioJob series or the AccioJob YouTube channel, right? Like I told you guys, there's a playlist, right? In this playlist, the project building workshop playlist, we have built a lot of things. In fact, last week itself, I myself made a Steam game using just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Before that, we had made a LinkedIn clone. Before that, a Spotify clone, Instagram clone, Thread clone, Twitter clone, right? So we keep on making a lot of projects. So I really hope you guys go through this playlist and you will definitely end up learning something from this playlist, right? So subscribe to the channel, go watch these lectures that are there. All of these lectures have been done by amazing AccioJob instructors who are always there to help you guys, right? And yeah, I hope I was able to give you guys some value, and I hope I was able to, help you guys make your quiz app using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So yes, if you guys have any more questions, let me know. And I hope these 2 hours were really well. And thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, I will definitely try to take more sessions and definitely try to give you guys more value. So, without any further ado, I feel we can, continue with our Sundays. The Sunday was spent really well, thanks to you guys. So, have a good day, have a good evening, and definitely keep on learning and keep on exploring. Right? So, let me just end the session now.